Hi everyone, welcome to another game with my RP taxing style industrial genomics deck. Now, before we begin, I would like to apologize in advance because this game will not have an ending. My opponent very unfortunately disconnected towards the end of the game, and because of that, we don't actually know who won or lost the game. Yeah, I feel that there's a lot of stuff worth mentioning in the early to mid game, hence I am doing this commentary. So once again, just a reminder, this deck taxes the runner in three ways: net damage, click, taxation, and money tax. So this is my opening hand. I'm playing against Leela Patel, and I decided to keep this hand mostly because there were no agendas in my hand except for the NAPD, which is hard to steal. This is a huge mistake normally, but I'm going to take the risk this time. Hopefully I draw into ice. And I figured that even if I was going to be hit by an account siphon, I could recover with Celebrity Gift. So that was my rationale for going with that. But the first draw changes everything. I find a shock. So I drew one card as my first click. My second click was installing Bootcamp. This allows me to pull out the second shock from my deck. And my last click was clicking for a credit. So I trashed both shocks in my deck. So immediately off the bat, my archives is live with shock. 2 shocks, in fact. So that was good. But as I completely expected, an account siphon was heading my way. I wasn't so concerned about legwork. The worst was that I would lose a Caprice Shell. I didn't mind giving up the NAPD. But by far the worst thing was that I got hit by an account siphon, losing all 5 of my credits and giving him 15 credits. And yeah, that is absolutely terrible. The only good news is that there are 2 cards in archives, face down cards in archives, so it actually cost him to 3 credits to trash the Caprice Shell. He chose not to, which is a huge mistake. You should always trash Caprice Shell. Alright, so I actually kept subliminal messaging my hand from the turn before. This was to bolster my hand size so I could trash all the shocks at turn 1. So I now use it so that I can gain a couple of credits. So now I have 2 credits. This means for my next turn I can fire off my Celebrity Gift. So I'm still pretty poor and he takes advantage of this by building up with a security testing on his next turn. So now it's back to my turn. He passes over to me. I appropriately play Celebrity Gift. This is why I'm not so worried about him coming to HQ. He can siphon me all he wants because it'll take another 2 siphons for him to bring me down to 0 credits again. It's pretty hard to siphon lock me when I have Celebrity Gift in my deck. So, what he does next turn, he actually installs Fall Guy and Security Testing. So, ouch, that is very painful for me. I was intending to trash the Security Testing 1 turn earlier, but Celebrity Gift took precedence, and now trashing all of that is going to be very expensive. I chose to do so. This could be a huge mistake. I was debating so hard. I struggled with this decision a lot because he's already very rich. He has 18 credits, and I don't have any tag punishment measures. He seems to be floating tax, and I don't have a close accounts in my deck. So unfortunately, yeah, trashing the security testings won't do much when he's already so rich. But I figured that industrial genomics heavily relies on taxing the runner. If they have 100 credits, your ID is basically blank because they can just trash every single asset and upgrade you have. So I felt that it was absolutely mandatory for me to trash all his resources. Hence, I decided to blow up the security testings, and now I'm of course blowing up the data leak reversal. No question here, you have to trash data leak. Even though it sends all your cards face down into archives, which is what you want, you don't want agendas in there. Alright, so he didn't run last turn, so I got subliminal messaging off, and thankfully I found my second Celebrity Gift in double time. So I actually managed to gain a lot of credits from this, but the only downside was that I did show him my Nisei Mark II, which definitely baits a run on HQ, and I definitely paid the price as he threw a legwork my way. Nothing much I can do about it, and of course he snipes the Nisei. That was the price I had to pay for money. Money is pretty hard to come by now, and my top priority right now is getting a piece of stopper ice on HQ because I know there are 2 more account siphons in his deck, and they really ruined my day. Not so much my credit denial. I guess I can recover from credit denial. The problem is when he's rich, my ID is blank, as I said. So I need to make sure that his credit pool doesn't go too out of hand. Now, here we have a little debate. I'm not sure what exactly the rules are, but after he stole the Nisei, he was able to bounce an unrest card from the board to my hand. There were no valid targets for him to bounce, but there were a couple of unrest cards in archives. Are you allowed to bounce face down cards in archives back to the Corp's HQ? My intuition is no, but on the same line, I don't see why this is not possible. I suppose it doesn't really make sense because by the same logic, you can bounce cards from the top of R&D or anywhere from R&D for that matter into HQ, which sounds really wrong. I believe Leela's ability only applies to install cards, so I don't think you should be able to do that on cards on archives, but I don't really know the ruling, so I just took a card back into my hand. It didn't make a difference anyway. Actually, it did. The only difference basically is that now there's one less face down card in archives. So it actually matters because, again, in industrial genomics, you might want to bounce off cards from archives so that there are less unrest cards, which means there's less tax. Alright, so here I decide to load up a Shell Corporation on R&D, place a Caprice on HQ, and unload Shell Corporation. Yes, Shell Corporation is very troublesome. I don't have any, Eli is not a hard stopper. I can pay 2 clicks to get in, and I do not want a Shell Corp with 6 credits sitting vulnerable down there. I know it cost him 7 credits to trash the Shell Corporation, but I need the money more than, I need the money more. The money is more important to me than taxing him at this point. He's so rich that paying 7 to trash Shell Corporation means nothing. So, yeah. So I had to unload it when it hit 3 credits. Now here, he runs my archives and fires off Hades Shard, and then, fires it off. I'm not sure what was the rationale behind that. He still got hit by the 2 shocks anyway. So, I'm not sure what I'm not sure what was the point of bringing out the Hades Shard there. But in any case, it doesn't matter. So I reinstalled the ice on HQ. The Eli that you saw on HQ was unres. I disconnected halfway, which was why it became res, but it was unres all the time. Alright, so now my archives is loaded with 3 shocks, but he finds himself a breach, so I'm forced to ice up R&D with Tsurugi. And at this point, I decide that I do not need any more face down cards in archives. He seems very reluctant to trash cards anyway. And more importantly, you don't want too many face down cards in archives because that makes it really tempting to make an archives run. So about, I'd say roughly 3 face down cards in archives is a good amount. It's a good number. It raises the tax, it taxes the runner significantly, but isn't too tempting to make an archives run on. So I basically continue fortifying my centrals because I see him playing central only breakers, so he can efficiently break through all my centrals. So I need to make sure that we need to keep him out for I need to guarantee that he's kept out. So in the meantime, it's quite obvious that he's going to tag me. He plays his plus feed, so now he can float tax freely. In the meantime, he gives me lots of subliminal messaging money. This is why I'm so rich now. And I decide to start constructing a remote. Actually, at this point, I should have just played the Himitsu-Bako on the remote. That's kind of a mistake on my part. Knowing that he's only playing central only breakers, my innermost eyes should be an end run. But instead, I decided to throw the Himitsu-Bako on HQ because I wanted to tax him heavily. Since I know he's using bridge, breaking the Himitsu-Bako costs 2 credits for only a rest cost of 2. That's completely worth it. Alright, I find my Philotic Entanglement here, so it's go time. This is the only 3 advanced agenda in my deck, so it's very important. Because this means that I can install Ruhr Valley, Caprice Nisei, and the agenda all in one turn. So, install. That definitely that rapid fire definitely catches a lot of runners off guard. They only have one turn to react to this. If they don't react properly, I get 2 agenda points. And as a bonus against him, because he has already fetched so many agendas, I get deal 2 net damage if the Philotic does get scored. So, does he have a solution for this? We'll find out. And notice that I put the pub on the remote server because I do not want to preemptively res the Caprice Shell. This is incredibly important in this sort of matchup because there's already a Caprice Shell on HQ. If he chooses to ignore my remote and run HQ, I would have to trash the Caprice on the remote if I res it preemptively. In this state, I can keep both Caprices unres and res only when he makes a run on either server. So now he passes the turn to me. I decide he's playing quite passively. Do I score the Philotic? It's a tough choice. I do have some money on Shell Corporation, so I do unload it. And I decided to fortify my central servers instead. Now, this is a very important thing because in the back of my mind, the most dangerous thing I have to deal with is Leela's ability. Had I scored the Philotic there, he had the potential to bounce cards back to my hand. If he bounced the ice that is sitting on top of my remote server, he can easily dismantle it. So that prompted me to place a second piece of ice on the remote so that he cannot easily take apart my remote server. In the meantime, he sets up a data sucker, and now that all my servers have at least 2 ice and 1 upgrade, unres upgrade on it, I score the Philotic in relative safety, dealing 2 net damage to him. And what does he do? He gets to bounce a card back. He chooses to bounce back the upgrade on HQ. So here it's kind of, quite a mistake here. I should have res my Caprice Shell before scoring the Philotic. It seems quite obvious that the one thing that he's worried most about is Caprice on HQ because that basically shuts down his legworks and account siphons. So that's problematic for me. And he nearly gets me here. He installs Utopia Shard and fires it off at instant speed. Thankfully, it didn't hit my Caprice Shell. If it did, HQ would be very vulnerable. So I got very, very lucky there. That is not a play that you see every day, but that could have potentially been very devastating. The good news is he spent 7 whole credits to perform that. So he basically taxed himself for no reason because he did not manage to snipe a Caprice Shell from my hand. And more importantly, I top deck a Nisei Mark II. So that's going my remote. He cannot really contest it. Because he's running Central Breakers, he can easily hit a Komainu if he runs the remote. That's always a worry for him. So because of that, he had to play passively and I get a Mark II out. So this is a very key turning point. This means that I can now stop any account siphon runs. Unfortunately, once again, I forget to res the Caprice Shell that was on HQ, so he bounces it back, plays the alias, and siphons me. Very expected. So here, I'm just going to tax him as much as I can, and my server is incredibly taxing. 2 pieces of ice cost him 6 credits to get through. Breach isn't that efficient. I'm exploiting that fact. Not that efficient against certain ice. And as I said, I'm exploiting that fact, and when he's done with the siphon, I stop the run. But of course, he still has a legwork, and that allows him to get through. He pays through both barriers, and gets to access my entire hand. So, very unfortunate for me, because that means I'll lose my Caprice Shell. Well, he doesn't trash it. That's a huge mistake. I know it's very expensive, but he has all the credits to do it. He should have trashed the Caprice Shell. He knows that if he doesn't trash it, it's going back on HQ to ruin his day. It costs 6 to trash it, but definitely is worth it for him. He definitely should have done that. So now he attempts to make a run on a place where there actually are agendas, which is R&D. And now I rest the Tsurugi, which is usually very annoying for Alias to deal with because Alias is only 1 strength and requires 2 credits to pump. Unfortunately, he does run Data Sucker, and that makes Tsurugi much cheaper to break through. Thankfully, he doesn't have Parasites, but it's still quite annoying that he can get through Tsurugi for just 4 credits. Still, R&D is very taxing, 8 credits and a Data Sucker token. I used Jackson to shuffle 2 celebrity gifts back in, So to make R&D thicker, thin the gender density, and he doesn't find anything. So I draw into my second river valley, but I'm completely broke after raising all that ice. So now is my time to solidify my economy once again, and because he made the crucial error of not trashing Caprice on site, it goes back on HQ, ready to defend. So yeah, that's a very key mistake, I think. A lot of his strategy is predicated on getting into HQ between account Siphon and legwork. With that disabled, he's going to have a hard time. I mean, he knows his deck better than me. If the only reason why you would not trash Caprice on site is if you have a Sneak Door beta ready at hand. But I don't think he runs Sneak Door in his deck. Alright, this is yes. Once again, I unload Shell Corporation. That was a huge mistake, I think. I should have loaded it with credits instead of unloading it. Because usually you don't want to have 6 or more credits on Shell Corporation unless you are positively sure that they cannot trash Shell Corporation the next turn. There, I had a window where he was not able to run R&D because he was too poor. I should have put 6 credits on Shell Corporation, which I did not. That was a mistake on my part. So basically, the entire game, I'm just hitting Shell Corporation for 3 credits and then unloading it. So it's basically 1.5 credit per click economic engine, which is very weak. So here, I drew I drew a celebrity gift. So I show him my hand. There are no agendas. So now I have a lot of money again. So thankfully, I've seen a lot of celebrity gifts this game. I got very lucky with that. So I wasn't so reliant on Shell Corporation for economy. So yeah, I could afford to click credits on Shell economy at Shell Corporation at a reduced efficiency. Usually, if you hit Katie Jones for 3 credits and then take the 3 credits off her every single time, it's not worth it at all. You need to build her up to 6 or 9 credits at least for it to be efficient. Same thing with Shell Corporation. Unfortunately, it's so hard to do that when you know that the runner can easily trash it. So he finally decides to disarm my ID ability by running on archives. And that cost him 3 cards from his hand, including the gun, the unregistered SNW-35. The reason he didn't play that was because Caprice was on HQ. You need a successful HQ run to trigger the gun. And that is why that card is so weak. Even in this matchup where unregistered SNW-35 is the most effective, he cannot use it because Caprice is on HQ. This shows how weak the card is. I wouldn't play it. There are other ways to deal with Caprice. The gun is not the way. Alright, so yeah. I tried to bait him in my remote server. There's an executive bootcamp lying in there, but he doesn't seem too interested in it. And for good reason. If he hits a Komainu or Tsurugi on my remote, he's going to take a devastating hit. So instead, he attempts his way into HQ, and we play the side game. Hopefully I can keep him out. Does it happen? Does it happen? Does it happen? Nope. He beats me at the side game. Good for him. Unfortunately, because of all that running that he has been doing, my servers are actually very, very taxing for him. He's actually down to 6 credits. The good news for him is that because he ran on archives earlier, I believe this was intentional, Caprice's trash cost is now 1. So he easily trashes Caprice, finally. He should have done this a long time ago. Well, but better late than never. Now that Caprice is gone, and now that I have no more face down cards in archives, I trash the executive bootcamp face down. So that's the first card in there. Then I hit Shell Corporation because I need money. Do I put more credits or take the credits off? I take the credits off. I'm playing Shell Corporation very conservatively. I'm very afraid of R&D runs. R&D is not that secure anymore. If I put at least 6 credits on Shell Corporation, he's definitely running into trash it. Even though there's a Rural Valley on R&D, which costs him an extra click to run. So yeah, I'm basically deterring him from the one place where there actually are agendas, which is R&D. Rural value on R&D really makes it extra taxing, and yeah, that's a problem for him. So at this point, I pretty much have the games in sight because we are both on 4 agenda points, and I just drew into my future perfect. So I ditch the Nisei, which I don't need anymore. Next turn, I'm planning to chuck the future perfect to my remote and score it out for the win. In the meantime, he basically draws up. He cannot really run because he's so poor on credits, and account Siphon just isn't equitable anymore. With his third click, he dirty laundries on my archives to get credits, but of course he'll get hit by 3 shocks. Unfortunately, this undoes all my effort of discarding cards. Oh yes, I need to reshuffle stuff with Jackson as well, because there was an NEPD and a Nisei in there. And it is at this point that he disconnected. Very unfortunate. So that brings the game to a close. Would he have won? Would I have won? I don't know. It's a toss-up. Next turn, I definitely would have installed and double advanced the future perfect into the remote. The question is, would he have challenged that remote? He has been playing very passively against my remote, but I think in that do or die situation, he probably knows that that's a future perfect. He would have ran it, and he might have won. All he needed to do was to win 2 side games, because I did not have the foresight to put a Himitsu-Bako on the remote. Instead, I put a Yagura into a pub, both of which he can easily pass through. Sure, take 1 net damage, I look at the top card R&D, that's it. Then it will all boil down to Caprice side games, and the chances of me winning that twice in a row, because there's a rural value there, not that high. So I'd say it's a 50-50. It could have gone either way. Overall, this game exemplifies Jinteki's love-hate relationship with criminals. Net damage is incredibly crippling for criminals who have no in-faction way to draw cards quickly and no way to mitigate net damage. On the other hand, criminals are able to perform credit denial with account Siphon, and emergency shutdown really ruins my day. Thankfully, when he attempted to shut down my Tsurugi, I had a celebrity gift waiting for me, so I wasn't too worried about losing credits. But had he found more copies of account Siphon or same old thing early on in the game, I would have suffered greatly, because throughout the entire early game, I was desperately clicking for credits and digging my R&D for ice that I really needed to put on HQ. That didn't come easy. But I managed to overcome that hurdle, and I actually managed to stabilize through the mid game. And the late game, well, as I said, it was anyone's game then. So that's that for this game. Thanks for watching, and happy net running.